What's going on, guys? Welcome to the first episode of the Talkin' Horror special, and I am currently joined by Michael Myers Reacts here on YouTube, and today we're going to be discussing Wes Craven's 90s classic Scream that was released in 1996. And before I start, this is basically a new series that we're going to be doing on both of our channels. Man, just tell them a little bit about yourself and what kind of content they should expect to see on your channel.
All right, thanks for having me on the special episode. If you guys know me from my channel, you guys know that there's a series going on called Talking Horror, where me and slasher movies, so far we've talked about Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Exorcist, and even Joker 2019. A little bit about my channel. If you guys head over to my channel, you will see that my channel is revolved around horror. It's all horror content, so if you're a horror nerd or a horror freak, definitely check my channel out. I'm definitely honored to be on your channel, bro, because you have such a bigger following than I do, and it's well-deserved, man. You deserve every subscriber you have.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you, and I'm really glad to have you on, and I hope we can definitely continue to make these type of videos.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I'm super stoked to talk about Scream because, believe it or not, this is essentially the first horror movie I've ever seen, or the first slasher movie, and it's the one that really sparked my interest into the horror community and mask collecting, everything like that. What is your fondest or your most notable memory of Scream?
Well, my first memory with Scream was I first seen Scream on Fear Fest. If a lot of you may not know what Fear Fest is, but it is a little 2-week series that shows on AMC, the channel, and it's around the Halloween time, and they were showing, doing a Scream marathon, and I remember watching Scream, and I instantly fell in love with it. I loved the Ghostface character. The Ghostface mask really drew me in. When I saw that mask, I was like, that's a really unique and cool mask. And as soon as I watched the original Scream, I wanted to go out and just buy the whole series, and I ended up getting Scream on DVD. It's one of the old DVDs. I don't have it anymore, unfortunately, but that's probably my most fond memory of Scream is when I first watched it on TV and just absolutely falling in love with the image of Ghostface.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. And Scream definitely revitalized the horror genre and brought it back to its roots, because during this time, there were some really crappy Nightmare on Elm Street sequels that are coming out during this time, and Friday the 13th. But Wes Craven, he really wanted to make this movie his own, and he wanted to make it different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Scream, the slasher genre itself, subgenre, was dying in the 90s, and Scream definitely resurrected it. Wes Craven kind of threw it at us out of nowhere in 96. I wasn't around in 1996. I was born in 99, but
same here.
The movie definitely, brought slashers back, because after Scream we have, Urban Legends, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Halloween H2O. They all had that Scream feel because Scream was what brought slashers back, and that's kind of what slashers turned into in the late 90s.
Yeah, man, and I love the characters and how they are, aware of the slasher movie-like plot that's being presented to them. In other words, the movie is very meta, and it's self-aware of what it is, but it also does take itself very seriously. Of course, the iconic opening scene with Drew Barrymore, absolutely incredible. The suspense is really, really up there.
Yeah, the whole thing about Scream, like I always say, and I hear other YouTubers say it as well, Scream is almost like a spoof of the subgenre of slasher, but at the same time, it is a very serious movie. The whole opening scene with Drew Barrymore, as you were talking about, that was a big shock to people because, they were expecting her to be our main girl, our main final girl, and obviously she dies within the first 10 minutes of the film, and people were like, wow, I was not expecting that. I wouldn't have expected that if I was in the theaters in 96. Even in my first watch, I was like, oh, that's cool, it's Drew Barrymore. I was like, she's going to be a big deal in this movie. Completely wrong.
Yeah, same here, man. When I first watched it at a friend's house on standard DVD, I was expecting Drew Barrymore to be the star of the movie because I saw her on the front cover and everything like that. And she was a
Yep.
very, very well known actress during that time, and she still is to this day. Um,
Yeah.
I was completely shocked when they decided to kill her like 15 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, I was very shocked. When you look at the promotional posters and everything and you see her on there, I mean, you would think, this is going to be a major character in this film. And Wes Craven, actually, I don't know if you knew this or not, it actually wasn't Wes Craven's idea. It was Drew Barrymore's idea to get her killed off early on.
Yeah, I heard that too, man. I heard that from somewhere, but yeah, I also love how the majority of the characters in this movie are so likable, and a lot of them are horror movie fans themselves, and they compare the scenarios that they're going through by subtly referencing other horror films.
Yeah, I like that. I thought that was really cool. I like how they, pay homage to Halloween in the film that we see a little later on in Scream. And yeah, you can definitely tell that like we were saying earlier, this movie is very self-aware, and you can definitely tell that, but it's very serious at the same time. Like you can definitely see the nods to past slasher horror films.
hmm Also, I heard somewhere that Drew Barrymore was actually offered the role of Cindy Prescott, but she turned it down.
Yeah, yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah, and again, like I brought up before, another thing that I love about this movie is the cast. Everyone is so entertaining and captivating to see on screen.
Yeah,
David Arquette, you got Courtney Cox, Nev
God,
Campbell, Jamie Kennedy, Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, of course.
yeah. Hmm.
You're not going to get a cast as good as this. I mean, this is the best you're going to get.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't have asked for any other people to be in this movie. Nev Campbell, now she was around before Scream, doing I think like movies and maybe some shows, but she wasn't very well known like Drew Barrymore. Nev Campbell was kind of just that. I think it was a very big shock to see that Nev Campbell was going to be taking, our final girl role because she wasn't as known as Drew Barrymore. It's kind of cool how Scream to me is really what shot her career off, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. So now we're just going to discuss our favorite scenes. So what would be your particular favorite scene in this movie?
Well, there's a lot of great scenes in Scream, um, but my favorite scene is probably the scene. It doesn't even involve Ghostface. It's probably the scene when Randy is basically telling everyone how to survive a horror movie. I absolutely love it and enjoy it every time I see that scene.
Yeah, man, it's absolutely iconic. My personal
Yeah.
favorites, I got a whole bunch. I love Tatum's death scene in the garage. I
Hmm.
love the party sequence that goes on, the whole build up and everything about it. I love Dewey and Gail's interactions, Principal Himbry's death, of course, and the
Yep.
final act, the reveal. What did you think when it
Oh
was
yeah.
revealed that there were two killers when you first saw it?
I think that that was a big shock as well. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't expect there to be two killers.
Hmm
When I seen it, I thought it was just Billy, and then it's both of them. It's Billy and Stu, and it's like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard's chemistry was on point in this movie.
Yeah, it was.
Um, so yeah, like I said before, Stu and Billy, they had great chemistry, and the whole scenario that took place at the end was jaw dropping.
It was.
Um, and yeah, let's see what else we can talk about. Okay, so I wanted to briefly talk about the director's use of lighting in this film because I thought it was very, very interesting. Um,
Okay.
the opening scene alone is a great example. Did you notice how like the house inside was lit very, very bright compared to like the darkness outside in like the front and backyard?
Yeah, I did notice that. But the lighting in Scream, I mean, I pay attention to that stuff sometimes, but I do notice it in Scream. But it does work in Scream because I mean, you got to remember when you watch the scenes with Drew Barrymore in the beginning, Casey, that was her name, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, she's in the house, and if you notice when she's doing her scenes, every light in the house is pretty much on. So there would be a lot of lighting in the house, and then when they go outside, of course, it's dark, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, because I actually, believe it or not, I had to do an assignment on Scream, and we had to talk about the low key
Nice.
lighting that was used in this film, but there wasn't a lot of it. It was mainly in the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
And I thought there was no surprise that the contrast between the dark and the light is kind of foreshadowing what is about to occur. Because the darkness outside kind of adds to Casey's vulnerability. The lighting overall shows the difference between evil and innocence, the dark and the light. So I thought that was a pretty cool touch.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that. It's a pretty cool way to think of it.
Yeah, man, and I love the references to other classic horror movies. Of course, John Carpenter's original Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh, and also, what'd you think of Wes Craven's cameo as the janitor?
Oh, that was so funny. Of course, the Freddy reference.
Yeah.
It's funny. I mean, when I first seen it, I actually had no clue that was Wes Craven.
Same here.
Until someone actually brought it up and was like, "That's Wes Craven making a cameo in his own movie." Right? That alone is like a spoof of itself.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing him wearing the fedora and the sweater, and people, when I finally knew it was Wes Craven, I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, it took me like about 2 or 3 watches to actually pick that up because I was still kind of new to horror movies during that time, and I didn't pick up on it. I didn't know who the director was, so Scream is a movie that subtly introduced me to the new movies because it introduced me to Nightmare on Elm Street since it was referenced many times, and Friday the 13th as well. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back and watch these movies that they watched in Scream. So that's what I love about this movie.
Yeah, Scream was, if I was a teenager in '96, Scream would have definitely been the film that introduced me to the slasher genre of horror.
Yeah, man. And also, back to the lighting, and I noticed something also when I was watching it in film class. It was the use of the color blue, and it was very, very prominent, from the TV screen and the swimming pool outside. And believe it or not, what I thought was kind of cool is the color blue is usually associated with calmness. And soon after Casey actually walks into the blue lighting near the sliding door, the disruption begins, and you realize that the caller wants more than a conversation because he's like, I want to know who I'm looking at and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the whole openings, it's Wes Craven. I believe Wes Craven did things for a reason, in the film. Mm-hmm. I don't think that he did them by accident. I think he did the lighting where, he put the lighting there for a reason.
Yeah, man. And once the killer, also, one of the creepiest elements to the movie is when he just goes, your call, and he throws the chair through the window.
Yeah. The whole first phone call is great. What's your favorite scary movie? I mean, everybody knows what that is. Name the killer in Friday the 13th. Jason. Everybody knows the beginning of that film. That phone call is probably the most iconic phone call in all of horror history.
Mm-hmm. And we can't forget about Kevin Williamson's amazing script, and it's very, very, very realistic, I'd say.
Yeah. Everyone who played in this movie did a great job, as you were saying. The script was very well. The way he wrote it did feel very realistic. I agree.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, anything else you want to include or you want to expand upon?
Basically, pretty much what I want to say is the whole film of Scream it's one of my favorite horror films of all time. It isn't my favorite, but it's one of my favorites. The Ghostface killer is iconic. I love Ghostface. It's just, I don't know if you noticed it. I know we're talking about the first film, but within the whole franchise, Ghostface really, his kills aren't that creative. It's just him stabbing people with a knife. I mean, it works because, he's just basically what makes Ghostface scary, in my opinion, is he just wants you dead. He doesn't want to toy with you. He just wants to stab you and kill you and be done with you.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. If they do future sequels, they really need to step up their game with the kills. I want to see more graphic kills, more creative kills. But you're usually right. It is a lot of stabbing and jabbing and all that stuff. But if they ever do Scream 5, first off, I think they should just end the series or at least end the story with Sidney, Dewey, and Gale and move on.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be introduced to a new, a new string of murders that occur elsewhere. But yeah, I love Scream. I do think they should do a final one, like I said before, because I don't know, for some reason, a lot of people say the ending of I know I'm getting off topic, but the ending of Scream 4 was like a perfect way to end it. I think they could have done a little more. I don't know. I think they should just do one more finale movie and then, you know, just retcon it. Or not retcon it, but like, you know, move on.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know that Spyglass is supposedly making another Scream film, but at this time it's not confirmed if it's going to be Scream 5 or a Scream reboot. I think rebooting Scream is ridiculous, especially since Scream has only been out since 96. Like, it's only like, what, 22, 23 years old?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's not very old at all. So rebooting it really doesn't make sense, in my opinion. Scream 5, I guess you could go with it, but I agree with what you said. If they're going to make a Scream 5, end it up and make it a good ending.
100%, man. And yeah, I mean, Scream is definitely one of my favorite. It was my favorite at one point, but now that I've seen other horror movies, you know, I've come to realize that there are some better ones, but Scream like has a close place in my heart because it's really what inspired me to start collecting and influenced me to continue to watch other horror films.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think it's cool that the Scream film and the character of Ghostface got you into mask collecting because you have an amazing mask collection.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, I think that's a really cool story that you know that Scream was sort of the horror movie that kind of got you deeper into the genre of horror. I think it's a really cool story.
Yeah, man. And what I also noticed is I feel like people that were mainly born in 99 or 2000, that movie always comes up and it's always like one of their favorites because I have a ton of friends that, you know, were born around the same time that I was. And as we kind of grow up with that movie because, you know, it did come out in 96. I was born in 99. So.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that. One of my pet peeves is when some, you know, kid who's born in a different generation than a movie may have came out. Like, I was born in 99 as well, and Scream was sort of around our time. 96 and 99 is not a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I'm a huge fan of Halloween 1978. And, you know, people will be like, oh, how can you call yourself a big fan? I went to the theaters. You know, I'm big and bad. I've seen the movie. It's like, just because I wasn't born when the movie came out doesn't mean that I didn't grow up with it. You could show a kid Halloween 1978 at the age of 10 or younger. Technically, they grew up with Halloween 1978. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, man. Like, I believe I watched Scream back maybe in like fourth or fifth grade, maybe. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
I was very young as well.
I definitely grew up with the movie, and I continue to watch it for years to come. So,
I grew up with Scream, Halloween, and Nightmare. I was just one of those kids. Of course, I'd still watch kid-related stuff, but I was a horror fan as a kid. I started, believe this or not, I started watching horror at the age of 5.
wow.
I don't remember the first horror movie I seen, but I was super young when I would watch horror movies. I mean, I'd be terrified, though. I mean, the movies would scare me for weeks, but I just loved watching horror movies. I thought they were just so freaking fun.
Yeah, man. Like overall, that's what I love about horror. Like I love the anticipation. I love the build up. I love the characters. Um, and yeah, overall, Scream is definitely a movie worth watching.
Yeah, 100%. If anyone's listening to this and you haven't seen Scream and you're new to horror, definitely watch Scream.
All right, so I think that pretty much wraps it up. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I'm good.
All right, cool, man. Any last words? Anything you want to include?
Basically, the only thing I want to say is if you guys haven't checked out my channel, please do so. I mean, you don't have to, but if you're a horror fan, I think you would really like my channel. And if anyone's listening who is from my channel, definitely subscribe to Slasher Movies.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. So, guys,
No problem.
that pretty much wraps it up. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for future mask reviews, unboxings, costume tests, everything like that. So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. And don't forget to check out Michael Myers Reacts channel. I'll put the link to his description for his Instagram as well as his YouTube channel. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later with some more videos.